You know what's crazy? The longer I'm away from the US, the more I realize the way we live back home isn't normal. Like, we've accepted stress, burnout, and constant pressure as just some sort of default. And the second you step outside of that, it's like, wait, this isn't how life has to be? Alright, so back in the States, as you guys probably know, it's all about the grind. You know, you're supposed to work, push, achieve, strive, and smile through all of it. But underneath, so many people are barely holding it together. You're told to just figure it out if you get sick. You know, you rack up a debt after school and then you can't even afford to live a life. You're even stuck in a loop of working just so you can afford to keep living. And yet everyone around you just acts like that's the life. And it's not like anyone tells you explicitly to burn out, but the system rewards it. You know, if you slow down, you fall behind. And even if you take a break, people assume you're lazy. I don't think you realize you're in survival mode until you actually leave. I didn't even question it because everyone around me was doing the same. Alright, so about 3 months ago when I got to Norway, it wasn't some crazy, dramatic shift at first. It was subtle. It was the silence, the peace. People weren't rushing at 10,000 minutes a second. No one was mad. No one was trying to sell me something every 5 seconds or have these posters of ads every 10 seconds. Even in the city, it felt calm. Like people had space in their lives. And I briefly remember walking through a park my first week here and thinking, why does everything feel so still here? Why is everything so safe? So many people were out just reading books on benches. I even saw parents walking their kids not glued to their phones 24/7. No one was stressed, no one looked exhausted. And that's when I suddenly realized I have never lived somewhere that didn't feel like a pressure cooker. That's what hit me. The environment here isn't built to keep you constantly exhausted and alert. It's built for balance. A very big topic that's discussed in the US is always freedom, but I never really felt free. We all talk about freedom all of the time. I felt on guard. Like, what if I lose my job? What if I get sick? Or even like simple things. What happens if something goes wrong? Here in Norway, that low-level panic, guess what? Completely gone. Healthcare is a given. Education definitely doesn't ruin you financially. You don't have to tiptoe through life, afraid of messing up or failing. Even just walking around, the vibe is completely different. Kids walk home from schools, people leave their strollers outside of cafes, and it's not because nothing bad ever happens. It's because there's trust here. There's trust. Trust in the system, trust with people around you. One of the weirdest things I've noticed here is how much safer I feel. Honestly, it's hard to explain until you feel it, but once you do, it completely rewires your brain. There were so many little things that shocked me at first, like a real, true culture shock in a good way. So I'm gonna just list a few. Okay, number one, this one was insane. The tipping here. So, back in the US, the tipping culture is huge. I mean, going to the gym, buying maybe a $5 water at a self-service kiosk, you're gonna get asked to be tipped. You go to another restaurant, you're gonna be asked to tip. Cafes, tip here, tip here, everywhere. But here in Norway, the wages are fair, so tipping isn't required, it's included. And this was a shock to me. I remember first going to a cafe and just being like, what? You guys don't tip here? Are you out of your minds? This is crazy. There's no way I have to. And then I was told, no, this is normal. You don't tip here. And I was just like, it blew my mind because I'm so tipping is part of the norm. Every day you tip. So it was just a huge shock to me. And I think that's a great change. So the next one is healthcare. It's not perfect, but it's definitely works very well and is extremely affordable. As you guys know or don't know, in the US, the healthcare is insane, and going to the hospital or going to the doctor is outrageous. I mean, if you spend a night in a hospital, you'll probably spend somewhere between 5 and 10,000 USD, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's just insane. But here in Norway, no, healthcare is fair, it's included, and you don't have to go bankrupt just to make yourself feel better. The next one is you get 5 weeks of vacation off. Now, if you were to tell that to an American, they would not believe you at first and be like, excuse me, what? But here in Norway, no, you apparently get 5 weeks of vacation off and people use it fully. I mean, in America, I'm pretty sure it's like 2 or 3 weeks, but here, maybe only 2, but here 5 weeks is unheard of. And when I first heard that, I was saying, you have to be joking. There's just no way that's possible. But no, apparently it's normal. And I think it's amazing. And I think everyone should have that, because who doesn't want to go on vacation for 5 weeks? And one of the last ones is people actually take long lunch breaks here and enjoy themselves on lunch. Back in America, people will constantly just keep working, be on a meeting while they eat lunch, not really truly enjoy their lunch. But here in Norway, I have seen and heard that people actually take breaks, their full amount of breaks. And they're not just on their phones, they're walking in nature, they're talking to people, they're enjoying their breaks. They should be, not just scrolling Instagram or TikTok or whatever else they do. They're actually in the moment and present, which I think is amazing. I think a lot more countries or a lot more people should start doing that because it's beneficial for your mental health and just as a whole, you feel like a better person. All right, the next one, by the way, I'm not anti-American. I'm just pro-sanity, okay? And I don't hate America. I like a lot of things about it. The energy, the diversity, the creativity, the weather in California for sure. But there is one thing that I will not do, and that is pretend it's working for everybody. Because to be 100% honest, it's not. And once you see that, once you truly feel the difference in how life can be, you start to ask, why would I go back to something that makes me worse? This isn't about running away. It's about choosing peace over pressure, sanity over survival. All right, I just want to say a huge shout out to my first channel member right here. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate you, bro. My boy, you know how to do. If you guys want to also get a shout out or just support me on this journey and my videos, feel free to join down below. No pressure at all. But if you want a shout out or if you just want to support us on this journey and become part of the OG group, the first ones to do it, make sure you join. Thank you. And I'll see you guys later.